But like the ocean, it gives you peace, so will my program.
To get from you a little bit more of your inspiration that you
governments that are involved, we've been able to form an environmental working group.
Department on energy, who have invested approximately or given aid. USIA has given an aid of $1.9 million to this project. Welcome to A Piece of My Mind, T-Mac.
Thank you for inviting me.
T-Mac is our guest on today's episode of A Piece of My Mind. Welcome. T-Mac, who is T-Mac? I mean, we read about you, we hear about you, but who is the real T-Mac?
T-Mac is somebody who loves the flute. I was 7 years old when I got my first flute. And I wondered my whole life, why the flute? This is the most difficult instrument to learn. This is an instrument where you need health. Today I'm not feeling too well, so I don't have that strength. This is an instrument, it takes you 20 years to learn. But somehow as a small child, I always remembered I played the flute before, so I believe I played the flute in a previous life. That's why I'm addicted to the flute. But I also play guitar, saxophone, and maybe what I like the most in my life is to compose. Every night I sit in front of my Sibelius system flat screen and I work on either a symphony or work on a classical flute concerto. I write for philharmonic orchestras. I write classical ballets, 100 to 120 instruments. That's what I enjoy in life. To me, composing is more exciting than a live show.
I realized yesterday I was talking to a music teacher who teaches music in the university, and he said, you call a musician and you think it's somebody that's doing hip-hop, but a musician is somebody that can read music, write music, and actually compose. And that composing is not just writing the words, but actually writing the song in the words of...
The guy who writes the words is the lyricist, and the composer writes the music, but I do both. But there's another secret in it. If you are just a live performer, you don't make much money. The royalties you make on your composition which is interesting. I'm living on songs I've written in the 70s.
Okay. And there's one thing, you said you don't relax. The relaxation you have is when you sit in your computer and compose.
Yes. I have my 6 or 5 dogs lying in the carpet, on the carpet in the air-conditioned room, listening to me on the system, and that's what I enjoy. I write everywhere. I have a laptop with me where I compose while I fly around the world. I I have a laptop with me anywhere I go, so I can quick just melody comes, write it down, work it out.
You spend a lot of time composing, but I've just realized that you also spend a lot of time being what I might call a musical activist in a way. You're very passionate about the musicians' rights and how they live. You know, I was going to ask you, recently you took over PMAN after Rossagy stepped down. You're busy. You don't have the time.
It is terrible,
What
yes.
made you go into that?
Because a part of music, I'm also the chairman of Allied Minerals. I invested my life savings into mining, and I control maybe the largest mining company in this country. But I'm a founder of PMAN, together with Sonny Wilson, Sonny Ade, Emily Zobé, and Christian Etienne. And I'm the only one who always said I don't have time. When Bolaji resigned, a delegation of the working committee came to me and said, I should please step in. And I told him I don't have the time. I have Brazilian concerts coming up, Jazz Festival Montreux in Switzerland. I'll be playing on the 7th of July in Ghana for the 50th anniversary, sponsored by a Swiss bank. But for 5 weeks, Charlie Boy would call me up, we have meetings. Then I said to myself, maybe I can pay back what music has done for me in stepping in at this moment, because if I don't step in now, the union may collapse. I had a very good meeting with my good and dear friend, Admiral Dele Abiodun. We've been friends for 20 years. We're trying to find a peaceful solution to his splitting away. I had a meeting with Tonio Koroji and said, look, we need to discuss the Nigeria Music Award because it belongs to PMAN. And I'm for peace. But I tell you, being the president of a musician union is just like head of a kindergarten. Or how will I say? I don't want to be rude, but it's constant problems, constant inherited debts. Everywhere I look, there's a problem. We're going to have next week our first NEC meeting, National Executive Meeting, for 3 days in my hometown, Wari. And I'm going to present my programs. I'm going to give my conditions. And then we move on. PMAN must polish up. I call it reloading and rebranding of PMAN. Because we had reached a certain height. Everybody knows PMAN. But you see, you must also consider that some of the PMAN presidents were not economists or businessmen. I'm lucky, I have a degree in music and I have a degree in economics and I have a master's degree in high finance. So I know how to handle money and I know how to organize things. But I will not run PMAN as a one-man show. This is teamwork. It is calling in all the elders. I call Ebenezer, Sonia, Charlie Boy, everybody. They are goodwill ambassadors. I need them to join and work together because the musicians of Nigeria are suffering. Show business is a reflection of the health of an economy. And since nobody can tell me anything about Nigeria's economy is down. Some few people are making big money, but the average Nigerian is suffering. And this reflects into show business. People cannot go and afford to buy the real, genuine CDs. They're going to buy the fake for 100 naira. That means a musician who has spent hours and weeks producing a CD. As an example, I just finished about 6 months ago a new CD. I spent 18 months. I own my own recording studio in my house, so I didn't have to go anywhere. But I spent 7 months recording and the rest just mixing. I have a fabulous system. Everything is like you do anywhere in the world. So it's a tremendous amount of time and money you invest to do a CD which will be released anywhere in the world. Now, you come to Nigeria, you want to release it here, and somebody buys 1 or 2 copies and they will bootleg you 100,000 copies for illegally out in the market. That's why I have not released any CD in Nigeria since '83. I wrote a letter in 1983 to NTA and the radio corporations and said, pay me or don't play me. If anybody plays my music without paying me my royalties, I'll sue you to Kingdom Come. That's why my music is not being played on radio stations. And I will, with PMAN now, enforce the rules and the laws, because in our constitution we are entitled to collect. Every disc jockey who plays Nigerian music has to pay a certain fee, even if it's a minimum fee. Every dance hall where there's music played, they have to pay for it. It's done in Benin, in Togo, in Ghana, everywhere except in Nigeria. So I have a tremendous workload ahead of me.
Party at 8:05. Sat in a chair to rest a while. Then people came, they said hello, but I felt alone at this party. Then I saw you near the bar, and I started thinking. Then I saw you near the bar, and I started drinking. Left the party at 4:05. Stood in the street completely stoned. People left.
That is because of affordability. Do you think that the DJs, the radio stations, the TV stations may not be able to afford this royalties?
There's no question if they can afford it or not. We can negotiate and make it a minimum amount. I'm not saying, I'll give an example. If one of my old songs is played on Kiss FM in New York, I make about $14 in just being played once. So if it is played, if somebody has a hit, and the 3,000 stations in America plays you hit 4 or 5 times a day, you make a few $100,000 that month just out of the radio play. But here in Nigeria, they play you forever and you will never receive anything.
That's interesting. You say you're from Warri. Well, we could argue that you're also from Switzerland.
Yes, I was born in Lagos, in the Old Creek Hospital, but my mother was a Shakiri princess. And my father was a Swiss ambassador. He resigned from his services and opened up on Martin Street a watch shop, Rolex watches, Tissot's. And in 1951 he was murdered. He was shot in his shop. And then an assistant to my father was called Bank Anthony. He married my mother. He became Sir Mobalaji Bank Anthony. So I have 2 sisters with my own father and 3 sisters with my mother and Sir Mobalaji.
Okay. So, but you're a Warri boy, a Niger
I'm a
Delta
Warri
boy.
Yes, yes.
That's why you're going there for the PMAN.
Peace concert on 1st of May, yes.
Okay. They say music is a unifying factor. Do you think that music can speak to all the youths, all the elders, and music as a therapy to heal a lot of our problems?
Yes, you said it correctly. I believe that music has even spiritual effects, you know. If you play to a small child some classical music, it will affect him. There has been an experiment in Switzerland that they played in a cow shed where there were 20 cows. They played Mozart constantly for hours, and the cows started to produce more milk even. That's a true story. It sounds funny, but it's the truth. What would be a wedding or a naming ceremony or a party without music? Boring. Music is everywhere. Music is needed for everything. And something else, Nigeria is blessed with a tremendous amount of talents. What I have seen in the last 20 years, I receive every week CDs, videos of upcoming artists, and some of them are really good. But the problem is, we need now to organize ourselves. There are no recording companies in Nigeria anymore. Are you aware of that? EMI, Decca, Polygram, Phonogram, Universal, Sony Music, they've all walked away because of the bootlegging of the piracy. Ask yourself, why are the South Africans not here in show business? They're everywhere. GSM, constructions, everywhere they are there. Department stores, but they're not in music because they know there's no money in music. As long as we are not able to convince every Nigerian to buy the original CDs, there will be no show business in Nigeria.
They're saying that they're now buying the original CDs because you guys have made the original CDs very cheap. So you can get a two-face CD for $1.59, less than $1.
No, that's not possible. Let me compare. I hope I have the numbers right, but the average CD in England is about $12. In America, it's about $10 to $12. So why should we sell it for $1.50? You cannot pay the costs. The CD itself is about 60 naira. The production is another 20 naira. The cover about 30. It's about 110 naira to produce a CD. But that does not include the royalties, the rights, mechanical rights, what the artist is going to earn. I don't think anybody can sell a CD below 1,000, 1,200 naira.
Yeah, but out there at the moment, you tend to buy original CDs from Kenny's Music Store.
I have never seen that. To me, the bootleg CDs are sold at 100 and 150 naira. The originals are minimum 500 naira. And even that is too cheap. Look, you pay for one session 5,000 naira. Now, to do a proper CD, international standard, you have to spend at least, I would say, between 3 to 7 million naira. That's the minimum, because you have to mix, you have to pay guest artists, you have to pay for everything. Now, how can a Nigerian artist make back, let's say, 5 million if you bootleg it? I want to see every good professional Nigerian artist drive a Cadillac or a Hammer Jeep or that, whatever, because he deserves it. It is not easy in show business. You know, you spend 10, 15 years suffering before you have a breakthrough. Even those you think are making it, they're not actually making it compared to how we do it abroad.
And so now you have a chance to try and make it right for them in music in terms of becoming PMAN president. I'm just going to talk to you briefly about the Nigerian Music Awards. That's coming up on the 19th of May. Is PMAN part of that now, or you're still talking?
We're still talking. And because of the matter being in court, I wouldn't like to go into details.
To go and talk about your other business, you know. T-Mac is a man of many parts. You're also a businessman. You have an interest in mines. What are you mining?
I was actually in the early 80s when I had my big hit and I had money to blow and to spend. I was in crude oil business, and after I lost about $6 million, I said stop it. And somebody advised me that the future is solid minerals. So I registered Allied Minerals, and I have concessions in Kogi State for mica, feldspar, quartz. I have in Ogun State for China clay, granite, and feldspar, but my main concessions are in Plateau State. I'm mining zinc, lead, copper, and in Abuja I'm mining tin. But you must realize that mining is very capital intensive. One bulldozer alone, that's 40 million naira, and excavate 60 million. It's not easy. But I think the previous Minister of Solid Minerals has made a lot of progress. I mean, things are going better. And the government just signed the new Mining Act into law. So we are expecting our new mining licenses within the next 1 or 2 weeks. When those licenses are out, I can easily raise up to $100 million in the world market based upon my proven reserves to go into it big time.
Will you play something little for us again?
Okay, maybe I should play something classical.
Yes, please.
Let's see if you know this one.
T-Mac, I could go on talking to you for the rest of today, but I'm just going to ask you before you leave us to give us a piece off your mind. Tell us something about music or your life that will encourage the youths or anybody out there to go out and live for tomorrow.
I sat in 1973 in London, a little bed seat, very depressed because I had a very good band in Nigeria with Lalo Akins, Berkeley Jones, Tunde Kuboye, Lydia Du Sisters, Jody Astrop, and the big famous world drummer Ginger Baker came and took the band away from me. So I left Nigeria and was very depressed, thinking what will happen next. I got a phone call by a German producer, Kunze. He said, come to Hamburg. We put the band together and we start afresh. I composed 11 songs for an album called United, and there was some studio time left. So he said, let's do something. It's all nice and complicated. Let's do it, keep it simple, stupid. We call it the KISS system. So he wrote very simple lyrics like, get up and booty, or fly, Robin, fly, up to the sky. And I wrote some nice strings, simple melodies. I forgot about the production, went back to Holland, where I played second flute in the Concertgebouw Philharmonic Orchestra. I will never forget the morning. At 9 o'clock I received a phone call from America. I said, listen guys, why are you waking me up? I played last night, I'm tired. He said, T-Mac, you're #1 in the American hit parade.
Wow.
I jumped up and said, thank God. And I've been living on the royalties of those simple songs and my other hits since. And I want to say to the Nigerian musician, even when you suffer, even when you're frustrated, even if there's no light, even when your neighbors say, stop playing your saxophone, you're disturbing us. Remember, the only way you can become good is to continue. Let nothing take you off your path. Except you continue and you continue, you'll become good. There's no shortcut. If there were a shortcut, I would tell you. You have to take your instrument and play every day, every day. You must love your instrument. When I was a kid, my first flute was under my pillow in the box. I would sing. I will not let my flute go away. I so love the flute. And I would also like to say to those who want to become professional musicians, go and study. If you want to build a house, you need an architect to build your house. If you're sick, you don't go to a quack. So the audience listening to you want to listen to a professional musician, not to a quack. And a lot of musicians in Nigeria are to me quacks because they're not real. The CDs are horrible. The songs mean nothing. Because nobody tells them. Everybody believes, everybody has ego, everybody thinks what I'm creating is the greatest. You need an outsider, producer, to put you down to earth and say, no, it's not good enough, let's do it again. So don't go in the studio without a professional producer, because your product will not be good.
That's it on this week's edition of A Piece of My Mind. Live your dreams, don't give up, go to school, be the best you can. That's coming from T-Mac, and for somebody who's been at it for so long, what better advice can we have? See you next week on A Piece of My Mind.